What the heck is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Kinda Funny Xcast, your home for all things Xbox here at Kinda Funny. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, Snowbike Mike, and today I'm joined by the two coolest, the dopest, and downright awesome co-hosts of the week. My man, Gary Whitta, is back, but Gary, we got somebody special in the middle. The man, the myth, the legend from the Spawn on Me podcast, Mr. Khalif Adams, is rejoined us on the show to take over for Paris Lilly. And you know we're going to be talking about summer cookouts and who's got the best ribs. But, of course, Khalif, welcome, and you are the esteemed guest of the week. How are you, my friend?
Snowbike Mike and Gary Whitta, the best meat in this sandwich. Let's get it. It's going to be so good today. I am so excited to rock with y'all. It has been way too goddamn long. You know I miss and love both of you. Shout out to everybody in the Xcast land. I'm super excited to be rocking today. Dope.
I think we were lucky to get Khalif. He's been making so many moves lately. He's everywhere. Surprised he could fit us in.
It's been very busy. is to say the least. It has been extremely busy, but it's been a good busy. I have been very blessed to be able to have wonderful folks in the industry ask me to do cool stuff, and you know me, I have you in my head all the time, Gary. You're like a very small person, just like on my shoulder, being like, "Go get it, Ka. If you're not making moves, you're standing still. You can't do that."
I got my twin mantras, Khalif. If you're not making moves, you're standing still, and if you're not getting paid, you're getting played.
Yo, and let me tell you, it has been a good 2021. I ain't free, boys. I ain't free.
Absolutely right. Know your value.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's again, thank you so much for having me. I love the KF crew and love getting to chill with y'all with the dope energy you have here on Xcast. And I'm sad that Paris is not here. I know that he had some other stuff to do. And I will be his happy replacement for today's episode.
He's just too scared to be on with you at the same time, you know.
It's like crossing the streams. You can't have us both in the same spot at the same time.
I'm fascinated. What is, because I feel like I came into this like mid-season. What is the origin of this culinary rivalry between the two of you that plays out on social media?
It happened almost 2 years ago now, because this past November was the first year anniversary of it, and he was. The funny thing is, like, I've known Paris for over 5 or 6 years now, probably longer than that at this point. And we had always crossed paths at a whole bunch of conferences and all that kind of stuff, and got a chance to hang out with each other. But I remember very specifically him having this 7-Up cake that he put on his timeline, and I just randomly was, we always give each other jabs and talk a bunch of shit. So I gave him some shit on Twitter, and he was like, "Well, you know what? You can't cook," and he put out this video of him at Christmas time. It was like probably the day before Christmas. So I was definitely playing the role of Scrooge. He came through and was like, "You know what? You can't cook. Everything I make is art." And then I was like, "Oh, okay. We're gonna play the game and have a little fun." I literally went into my upstairs room, snagged the video that he had shared on Twitter, and I in my spare time I make a little bit of music. So I made a beat out of his a beat in a video out of his video, and then that was kind of the thing that started it. It kind of just, like, from that point forward, just kind of just went wild with the conversations. Then we started talking about food and barbecue, and then that's when it all kind of bubbled up from there. Is this conversation about his ribs, and he went and made a grill video, and then that sparked into the 1-year anniversary video with all the stars from Montel Jordan and Cedric the Entertainer and all that kind of stuff. So it's been this rolling joke that literally we thought no one was going to care about. It was going to be a thing that we just said to each other just to give each other a little bit of shit. But then everybody really appreciated and liked it, and they kept being like, what is this conversation about you and your ribs and all this kind of stuff? So it started from a very innocent place that now has become something that Phil Spencer has chimed in on. The Xbox official account tweeted something about it one day. It's been
I feel like
wild.
this has got a climax with you two having some kind of cook-off.
That's been the conversation. So we were thinking about, so two things we have talked about and bantered about was, one, once the world opens back up, let's do a cook-off and do it. But one, we want to get it sponsored. We're not going to do anything for free. You come through with the big time guns. We're like, hey, let's get the Big Green Egg folks in Kingston and all these other folks to kind of come through and maybe do something cool with it for charity. But we just haven't had a chance to do it. We were thinking about doing it at E3 last year, right before the conversation around COVID popped up and they canceled it. doing some kind of off-site thing. We have it sponsored and do all that kind of stuff. So we're still having things in the works of terms of what we could possibly do.
I mean, I really
how
feel like we should do it like a Top Chef kind of show. Like once the world opens up again and we can get into the new Kind of Funny studio, let's have you in Paris do a cook-off. I'm thinking me, Snowbite Mike, and maybe one other judge will sample the dishes and render a verdict.
I think Nick really wanted to be a part of this taste test here. I think
we have a list.
Yeah.
We have a list now of people who are like, I want to just eat the food. Whenever you do it, can I just eat some of the food, please? And I'm like, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll make it happen.
Always awesome.
All right, that's on the agenda for sure.
Put it on the agenda. We're gonna make that happen. Is right. Khalif, you also have something really awesome coming up as well. We see you're gonna be rocking at the Dice Awards. Why don't you tell me and Gary and all the listeners out there what the heck is going on?
Yeah, so a couple years ago, I think for every person who's in this industry, if you are really a lover of not only just the games that we get a chance to play, but the people in it, there are a couple of things that are on your bucket list to be able to do. And especially if you're in the kind of podcasting space, the kind of media space, the first thing is, can you get into E3? And you cross that off your list. The second thing is like GDC for me was one of my first shows that I got a chance to go to in a real way. The next layer up from that, besides winning a Game Award or a BAFTA, is
I have two of those, by the way.
You have 2 BAFTA awards.
He's got 2 of those.
Two-time champ.
It's turned into a meme, so now I feel like I have to address it every time it comes up. It's not my fault. Well, I mean, it is my fault.
I just appreciate you dunking the alley that I just threw, so I appreciate that. Look at that. And one of those things was going to Dice, because it's literally the place where all the big names of every game you ever wanted to talk to, from C-level down to developers, down to the kind of personalities are there. And I was like, I want to go to Dice one day. And last year I got a chance to go to Dice, and it was fantastic, and actually spend some time there and hang out and rub elbows with all the cool people. And now I don't know how it happened. I don't know what was the impetus for it. I don't know what magical note got put into a bottle and sent out to the ocean. But they reached out, the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences, and said, Khalif, would you want to host a part of it? And I was like, oh hell yeah, I want to host this bad boy if I can figure out a way to do it. And it'll be really cool. We're doing a lot of it from home, of course, because of COVID.
Do you have to wear a tux?
I did not wear a tux. No tuxes are going to be in the space for me, because I don't. First of all, tuxes are tight. I got big ass shoulders. You can't be.
You should get one of those T-shirts that's just like has a tux printed on it. That's the move.
just bucket naked, just from the bottom, from the pants down, just with a tuxedo shirt. But it's going to be great because first of all, getting a chance to do that is amazing, because there are just so many brilliant people in this industry. And then second, I know we give Greg a lot of shit because this is his house and all that kind of stuff, but I've been a big fan of, and didn't have a really big appreciation for how good Greg is until you get to see him kind of do what he does. And getting a chance to see him kind of, at least have the conversations from other stuff that we've done, and some other stuff I'll talk about later. Getting a chance to co-host with him and Jessica Chobot, who I'm a huge fan of. Like, that's wild to me. Again, it speaks volumes to, if you keep pushing, you keep trying to, get your name out there, and you keep trying to, do good stuff in the world, people will see it, and give you opportunities if they feel like you deserve it. So I'm feeling very, very, blessed and lucky to be in a position to be able to do it. No one has co-hosted with them in the past 5 years they've done it. So I'm the first person who's going to be new to the stage when it all goes down, which is also weird and wild to think about. But again, it's like, it's been a good 2021 so far for me and for Spawn on Me. Billboards in Times Square, hosting the Dice Awards, doing a whole bunch
You're on
of stuff.
KFGD again this week, right?
Yeah, I just finished up KFGD with Bless earlier today, so that episode is already out. Go make sure you're checking that on the feeds. But it's also just a wild year already for me, and a lot of stuff that's happening for me and Spawn on Me. So I'm feeling really good. And we just literally launched our new merch store today, which is also super, super cool. So you can go check out some of the new merch that we have. I'm rocking some new stuff right now as well. You can see it with the new Greetings from Chicago shirt. So there's some new stuff pushing out now. So it's been a wild 2021 already.
You rock, Khalif. That's awesome. And, I'm rocking a really old hat. I'm going to have to go get myself a nice Spawn on Me hat because I think my Xbox Live hat is changing up a little bit after this week. I don't think
first
that's
of all,
relevant.
they got to get you an Xbox Network hat. Second of all, we finally have hats now, which I'm really excited. People have been asking us to get hats for a long time, and now we finally found a vendor that does hats really well. So I just got mine in today, actually. Mine just came into the mailbox today, so I got to go look at it and see how it feels and all that good stuff. But I'm excited. Again, it's like the time that I've spent in this industry of about 10 plus years now. A little bit of hybrid of doing media stuff and kind of being press, and now moving into this weird hybrid press influencer space, and also doing the stuff for my day job. It's been a wild ride, man. Like, I would have never thought that, me walking up to Robin Hunicke 10 years ago at GDC and meekishly being like, I love Journey. It's so great. Hi, my name is Khalif, would lead me to now hosting the DICE Awards or going to rub elbows with folks like Gary Whitta.
I mean, it's no joke. I mean, not Greg Miller co-hosting notwithstanding. They're like the most prestigious awards out there.
It's the award show that when developers are like, I really want to win an award, they're like, I really want to win a DICE Award. And that is a thing. Like, people are like excited if they win a DICE Award. I think those two in combination, BAFTAs and
the BAFTAs
DICE,
and the DICE ones, yeah.
Yeah, like those are the two, like, as a game developer, as a person who's making games in this space, that's the one that you're like, I want that one. That knows that my peers, because it's all about your peers voting on that one. So it's super cool to be able to be a part of that legacy in some form or fashion.
I respect the quick slight at Gary. I couldn't
I'll always squeeze one in there if I can.
Yeah.
I love it.
And Gary Whitta is back after a week away. Gary Whitta is now back on the show. And Gary, I felt like I lost you for a minute. You got lost. You went to a new city. You're lost in Los Santos. And a lot of people will get the joke because I got to segue into that. Gary, I was going to ask you what you've been playing, but I know what you've been playing. And most of the world should know what Gary Mitchell has been up to in Los Santos. Why don't you tell me? School us. What's up?
Well, I got to correct you, but I didn't go anywhere. Don't forget, this is me. This is my alter ego, Gary Mitchell. Which, he is kind of semi-autobiographical, I guess. So for the uninitiated, Grand Theft Auto, of course, is, one of the biggest games of all time. Like what I discovered the other day, like 2013 GTA 5 come out. I don't think it's ever been out of the top 10 best-selling games. Just phenomenal. Probably the single biggest money-making property in entertainment history. Just absolutely remarkable. There is an online component to it, but there's a lot of toxicity and trolls out there. And I tried messing with it and I didn't have a good time. But then I discovered this thing. It's been around for a while now. This thing called NoPixel, which is a heavily modified custom private version of the server of GTA Online, which uses the GTA Online world and the engine as its base, but they've put all this layering on top of it, like all kinds of developing. They've built their own kind of world, and it's essentially a living, breathing version of Los Santos in which almost everyone you meet is a character being role played by another player. It's an RP server. It's a role playing server. The rules about it are very, very strict. You must never break character. They will ban you if you break character. Hey, this is a really fun game, banned. Like, you are in character, or hey, shout out to my followers on my stream, banned. Like, you have to stay in character 100. A friend of mine just got a 3-day ban for breaking character in the game. So, like, don't mess with, like, once you're there, you become this other person. It's and the closest analogy, it's going to sound ridiculous, but it's like the Matrix. When you go there, it's this other reality, this ever persistent reality where everyone you meet's another real person, and you kind of get to go and become a different kind of cooler version of yourself or whoever you want to be. I'm Gary Whitta in real life, and you know who I am. But in Los Santos, I'm Gary Mitchell, former East End, gangster from the East End of London, who's now laying low in Los Santos while the heat from a job that went sideways dies down, looking to make some money, looking to make some moves. Not too worried about getting his hands dirty, if there's money to be made. And it's just an absolute blast. It really is an incredible thing. It's not an easy server to get into. It's kind of invite only. You have to apply. They're very picky about who they let in. They insist on you role playing the whole time. I was fortunate enough to get in. There were some of my friends. I've met a whole bunch of new friends from playing it. And I've just had a blast doing it, and I've even been able to make some content out of it. I got a little YouTube series running on my YouTube channel right now at Englishman in Los Santos. Go head on over to youtube.com/Gary Witter and check it out. It's kind of what we do is we take the live streams and kebabs, in fact, from the Kind of Funny community. We all know and love kebabs. Is working with me to kind of take the, like 4 hours of content and cut it down to like 15, 20 minutes of curated highlights. And each one's like a little episode in this absurd kind of comedy crime drama that's going. It's almost like an ongoing soap opera. There are storylines, there are narratives that emerge there are these ongoing story arcs that people come up with, and it's all heavily improvised. It's just wonderful. I'm having so much fun with it, and there's going to be a lot more to come, I'm sure.
Oh, it's so good. It is so good. It has been. I'm watching a lot of Gary's stream before I go to bed, and it is very, very good. It is the impetus for me wanting to try to figure out a way into that bad boy because
I'm having a blast. Twitch.tv/Gary Witter if you want to check out the live streams. I'm streaming it quite often. And again, go to the YouTube channel if you want to get in on the edited highlights. We have a new episode. I think we're doing like 2 or 3 episodes every week, and it's just the most fun. I'm loving it. It makes me wish that more online gaming was like that. Like I always thought the RP was kind of a weird thing, but like now I'm totally converted. When I used to play Warcraft, like the RP servers, it always felt like a bit too nerdy for me. But when it's actually your voice, it really is less like. I mean, there are video game aspects to it. There's all kinds of like game. It's still GTA, right? You can do all these like heists and races and stuff like that. But honestly, you can spend 6 hours in that game just doing nothing. Like go hang out at a bar, go to the beach, just fuck around, and as long as you're in character. It's honestly more like an exercise in comedy improv than it is playing a video game. And it's this amazing fusion. It's almost like a new art form that emerges. Some of the biggest streamers on Twitch are into it. It's because it's very popular. It's been around for a few years. Very popular again now because NoPixel just put out the 3.0 version of its engine where they added new features. But like you can have careers, you can have a job, you have like a whole other life, a whole other alternate life that exists in this world, and it's just wonderful. I'm having so much fun with it. Check it out.
It's so good, so good.
We got Mike. We got to get you in on this. We got Khalif and Mike. We got to get you into Los Santos.
I'm trying. I have my application. I put in my application, which they make you do.
Yeah.
And they give you a couple of times. You get like 5 chances to get in before they say no, you can't do it.
Okay.
And I got my first no.
How can you say no to Khalif Adams? What the hell?
I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what I mean. My character's name, and I'll debut it here for the first time because
lay it on us.
First time that anybody has been able to see. What up, Cat Daddy? How you doing? My name is Cantangelo Jackson. What's good?
Cantangelo Jackson. Like, that's already a yes for me. I don't need to read any more of the application.
See, brother, what you got to understand is I have come to Los Santos.
He's got the voice
to relive my magical R&B career. You just have to understand that I once had an accident and I now cannot sing the way I used to sing. So now I must go into the world of podcasting within Los Santos to understand and find the wonderful folks who have ideas and thoughts and dreams and talk about those on my show. But I must get into NoPixel to be able to do that. And then I'll be able to talk about my wonderful, my amazing old career where I used to sing with the #1 single that was on the top charts called Shoobity Bop, and my second one that was called Shoobity Wow. People don't understand the wonderfulness that
this should be your application. Can you submit an application as a video? Because this surely it would win them over.
Understand, Cat Daddy? I don't know what it is, but they just got to let a brother in. I don't know, man. You just got to let it happen.
We got to get you in. You are exactly the kind of person that Los Santos is like. Everyone comes to Los Santos with a dream.
Yeah, man.
They come to Vinewood. It's a city, but it's a city of broken dreams. That's what I got to warn you about. It makes you, but it can break you too. It's a tough city. I'm just
saying, man, it's broken, brother. But we got to piece it together. We got to find a way to piece it together. We understand what's happening in the hills of Los Santos. We just got to make it happen together. That's it.
We got to get you in. We got to get you in.
So I don't know. I'm hoping they figure it out. I have to redo my application, see if we can make it happen. Because I think, like you said, I think that the beauty of what I'm seeing and witnessing, because I'll tell you, I'm honest. I see stuff all the time that's just like, I don't know if I'd fit into any of that kind of stuff. But I feel like as a person who is on camera a lot now, doing a lot of that kind of work, it would be nice just to be able to be somebody else for a couple of hours.
You know, the funny thing about it is that it's so liberating to do that because there's no real consequences, right? Like a guy pulled a gun on me on the street the other day. I'm like, oh, big man with a gun, you're not going to fucking do anything. Like I would say that in real life to a guy who's pointing a gun at me. But in the game, it's obviously there are real consequences. My character can get killed and go to the emergency room, and there's a whole thing that goes on. But like, you know, it's ultimately still like just a video game. My worry is what I've discovered, and this is really scary, is a little bit of Gary Mitchell is leaking out into real life. I can't afford to let that happen. Gary Mitchell will tell you to go fuck yourself direct to your face. I try to in real life. You can't afford to be that guy. But it's so seductive to disappear into the persona of another character. That's really the fun of it.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. Everyone who I've seen who has jumped in, you know, feet first and really embraced it. Yeah, it has been super, super cool. Like
I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. I thought I would be too self-conscious to you know, because it's a performative thing. But like once you get into it, it really does. You know how it's like karaoke? I don't know if you're the same as me, but like sometimes you have to be like talked up on the stage to do karaoke. But once you get one song under your belt, you're like straight back to the song book going like, what can I do next? Like you want to go again. And it's very similar to that. Like you just get the bug.
And really quick, because I know Mike has actual agenda things to talk about. One of the things that I actually really like is seeing a lot of streamers who usually are on camera. They will turn their cameras off when they do no pixel.
Oh, I do.
Which I really love because it removes that other layer of the audience kind of seeing you do the thing. And then you kind of really you lose that ability to be like, you know, you lose that karaoke moment where you're just like, everyone's looking at me on stage, like no one can see you. Which is
it's been interesting to see how that breaks down. Some people do a voice, some people don't do a voice, right? Everyone plays a character, but I play a character, but I speak in my normal voice. Yeah. But other people like really kind of put on, like you just did with Cantangelo Jackson, just put on like a whole other, you know, cadence. Some streamers will have their camera on so you can see the streamer, and others will turn it off. And that's a choice. I chose to turn mine off because my vibe is like, I'm feeling like I want to see the puppet, but I don't want to see the puppeteer. Do you know what I mean? It kind of breaks the immersion a little bit.
Yep, for sure.
I mean, I want to go the whole podcast of just listening to you two talk about role playing and like, you know, dive a little bit deeper into this no pixel stuff. But I know we got to talk about Xbox. So let's get into it. Of course, this is the Kind of Funny Xcast. We post each and every Saturday at 6 a.m. West Coast, Best Coast time on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, roosterteeth.com, and on podcast services around the globe. Please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Like the video, share it with your mama, your daddy, your auntie, and everybody in the RP server that you're hanging out with, because I'm sure they'd love to bump to it in Los Santos. Of course, we'd like to thank our Patreon producers, Mick the Nanobiologist, Tyler Ross, Joy, Trent Barry, Mizuki, Man Bear Paradox, Julian the Gluten-Free Gamer, Alex J. Sandoval, Sancho West Gaming, James Hastings, Elliot, Casey Kern. And of course, this episode of the Kind of Funny Xcast is sponsored by ExpressVPN, but I'll tell you all about that in a little bit. Let's jump into the dashboard, check some of the news for the week, you two. And of course, you know I love controllers. Gary, you love controllers, and we love all of the awesome Xbox controllers they've been putting out since the start of this new generation. And guess what? You got two brand new special edition controllers on the way, and a brand new merch line that's going to send a little shock to your system for the spring season. Announced this week, Team Xbox is bringing two new controllers to the market in a hot new line of merch. Starting off with the controllers, you can get your hands on the high energy electric volt neon yellow and the bad to the bone looking Day Strike camo, a red camo, in April and May. Along with that, both themes will appear in their upcoming line of streetwear, available on the Xbox Gear Store April 21st. Khalif, Gary, let's start off with my guy, Gary Whitta. Two brand new controllers, bright yellow, neon yellow in your face, and that Day Strike red camo. How you feeling these? I'm looking at them right now. You know, other people might think, I reacted to this on social media when they dropped them earlier this week. Other people might think there are bigger stories in Xbox, this you know, Discord, ID Showcase. For me, this is the number one story. I'm glad you've led with it, Mike. We're on the same page here. I love a new controller color. You know, ever since the Xbox 360, they've been dropping these cool controller colors. It's a great way to get the Xbox diehards like us. You know, you got to catch them all, right? You got to have all the colors. I don't need another Xbox Series X controller. I'm getting at least one of these.
this neon lime green, electric volt, whatever you want to call it, this is the color I've been waiting for. I liked the red, white, and blue, but this day glow green, just something about it really, really speaks to me. Easy to find. This one's not going to get lost between the couch cushions, right? I don't know if it glows in the dark or whatever, but you're not going to lose this controller. I just like the color. I like the aesthetic. The red one, to be honest with you, the camo one, a little bit too Duck Dynasty for my taste. I can probably skip that one. That one's less my personal aesthetic. But the electric volt, I'm all over it. Absolutely. What do you think?
Oh man, I mean, I'm in the same boat where, I mean, you can kind of tell that I like the color red, but I would say out of the two, the Volt one is so good. That yellow, that kind of yellowish green,
I mean, it pops.
It's like you just had a controller dipped in Mountain Dew, and you're just like, oh, this is what we're gonna rock.
I was about
to
say it's like the Monster Energy drink of controllers.
Yeah,
I like the red camo on the actual
hoodie.
Clothes.
That I like. Streetwear.
But for the controllers, I'm way more into the.
It looks good.
Yeah.
It looks good. I jokingly said online yesterday. I said, "Oh, the Xbox made a controller the color of people's faces after they eat Paris's food." Fantastic.
Oh my God.
Who knew that was what Xbox was going for? But yeah, if I'm gonna get one of those, I did definitely like poke people from Xbox. I was like, yo, that yellow joint, can you send that my way? Because it looks good. It looks real good.
Mike, what about you?
First off, Paris is going to come back next week with a whole lot of heat. So thanks for warming up the Xcast for me next week. I can't wait for that one. But I got to say, Gary, I'm with you and Khalif. I love the Electric Volt. I think they've been killing it with the special edition controllers, from the Shock Blue to that red, the Pulse Red that we just got. But man, that Electric Volt Yellow, that's what I love. And I actually am on the opposite side. I like the Day Strike Red camo. I think that's cool. I kind of rock with that. You guys know I'm a really big 100 Thieves fan, and I think that goes with the motif. I rock a lot of 100 Thieves merch, and that goes really well with that. But Barrett showed it out as well. That Xbox streetwear. I love all of the Xbox gear, and I like that they branch out sometimes from the normal neon green. You saw me wear the Xbox Live hat with the orange as well. But I like when they get a little wild with it, right? We saw it in the winter collection, and now they're stepping into this, and they're choosing these two themes to go forward with. Like, that's fun. That's cool to me. And so I'm excited to see what the clothes come out with as well.
Love it.
I'm just noticing now, this is strange. The camo one is $5 more than the green one. I wonder what that's about.
I can't give you the exact answer, but I have noticed that, like, I would put that more in like the premium, right? I think I noticed when you went on to Design Labs back in the day, when you got into that camo, and then I think the gradient, I forget what they called that.
Yeah,
those
it's
were a
more
little bit more
colors
expensive
in the design.
than the gloss. Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to take a look on that one. But a really cool piece as we stick on with the controllers, we've seen Microsoft and Xbox try to go green and preach sustainability. And a really cool one with both these controllers is coming from the Xbox blog. With the new Electric Volt and Daystrike Camo Special Edition controllers, we will be incorporating post-consumer recycled PCR resins for the first time in any Xbox hardware. Both controllers will contain a portion of resins made from recycled materials like automotive headlights, plastic water jugs, and CDs. We expect no compromises from these recycled materials either, as our testing shows the materials provide the same controller durability or performance you have come to expect. We are excited to be taking this next step in our commitment to waste reduction and recycling while still coming up with innovative new controller designs. So a really cool piece of going green with those two controllers that I definitely wanted to make sure we highlight. And I did look at it, actually. I looked up PCR to see what is PCR resins. I want to know all about it. And it'll be interesting to see one of the side effects to using this that people really shouted out. And it will be interesting as we put on the controller and all the gloss and the finish you'll see. But they said you'll see small little specks of like small black specks all around these different recycled materials. So I wonder if we'll see that at all, or if they'll have a high gloss paint over it that will probably make that indistinguishable. But really cool that they're continuing to push the green initiative.
Yeah, I like nice to see them getting a bit more eco-friendly. But you said it earlier, Mike, what we're really looking for is the return of the Xbox Design Lab, right? We want to make our own color schemes.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Gary, know you and I, we love that. Khalif sounds like he loves that. And they did say, hey, keep an eye out. Maybe this year we should see that. But I do expect them to push that. But I do like that they're still giving us a steady new colorways, right? You look over on the PlayStation side, they haven't done anything with the DualSense, right? Like there has not been a different addition to that DualSense as opposed to the Xbox.
Yeah, you gotta do the
I had to go
custom one.
external. I had to go
Yeah.
Oh
external to
yeah,
get
show
my-
it
my
off.
color.
Show it off.
Really?
I had to go
Finally.
external
Oh
to
yeah,
get my,
yeah.
my
So now,
DualSense.
is that it now? Did you go to like a third party place to get that done? How does that work?
This is from a third party. I don't want to say because they're not paying y'all, but it's
Okay,
it's,
there you go.
but it's yeah, it was from a third party, and they did a fantastic job. So I have my
Cool.
Chicago color dual senses, but I want an Xbox one too. That's what I
Yeah.
want.
Yeah,
No
I'm
doubt,
sure they'll
right.
get that lab back online soon. You know, the generation's just started. But yeah, I want to get I miss my favorite color from the 360 era, and it was an official color, was the pink one. I loved that pink controller. Because I'm very comfortable with my own masculinity.
Yes, he
Pink
is.
controller
He
is no
is.
threat to me, as you know.
Damn
So I want to get that rocking in the Series X generation as well.
It's
Really-
funny too because shout out to no longer Xbox Pope Art, who continues to put out such great work with all
Oh, he
the
does
stuff
those
that he does.
mock-ups?
Yeah, man.
That's the
He
mock-ups, yeah.
he does the mock-ups, but now he's doing
Brought him to real life.
actual controllers under his own brand,
Oh, okay.
which have been fantastic. And he's been doing some side projects with other companies too. So he just literally shared today that he's doing some stuff on the Outriders side of fence.
Yeah.
They did a limited edition version of some of the Xbox controllers just for Outriders, which looks so good.
And we're seeing some of these custom designs leak out, when they send out these branded merchandise, like with the, you're rocking the Zoa fridge behind you there, Khalif. They sent the kind of a rock branded controller out with that. I got the, and the Mike's got it right there.
Good.
I got the Butterfinger yellow controller. It's you love to see it. There's a Yakuza controller that's out there. I mean, obviously these aren't available to the general public, but it shows what's possible. Once people are able to get their hands on the design lab, they'll be able to have a lot of fun with that stuff.
Can't wait. Well, let's keep it rolling. The next story up here. The moment is coming, boys. The paywall for free-to-play games on Xbox could soon be removed. Of course, we talked about this a couple months ago when they were about to raise the price of Xbox Live Gold. They reverted that back and also said that, hey, we're going to try to remove the paywall for free-to-play games. Well, it looks like Xbox insiders on the Alpha Skip program currently are seeing that right here, right now. They will be testing that for us over the next couple of weeks, along with free-to-play games. You will see looking for groups and Xbox party chats all removed from that paywall. So something really, really cool. Khalif, we've talked about it before on the Xcast, but what are your thoughts on this kind of like next step here as we look at the landscape, free-to-play games actually being free to play here?
Yeah, I mean, I think this ties in specifically to the next story too that we're going to be talking about on the docket. But I think that the conversation again has been, if you think about what Xbox has been doing and Microsoft has been doing for the past 2 years specifically, they have really been honing in on the conversation about how we want to be as consumer friendly as possible. Even when they flubbed a thing, they've quickly reversed that conversation. And they're not taking big hits when it comes to the PR space because they're just doing everything really, really well. I feel like this is also another part of that conversation where we're trying to get everyone to Game Pass because I think it actually is the best, literally the best deal on the planet in gaming. And this as another layer of that whole conversation around, even changing the name to Xbox Network feels tied to that, right? Where it feels like this new, fresh idea of we want to make sure that you're just able to do the things that you need to do to game with the people that you want to game with. This feels like just another extension of that and kind of keeping in line with that idea of making sure that the consumer and the gamer have all the tools they need to have fun, which is great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really, really cool, Khalif. It's kind of wild to see where we are now. And like you said, it's always been very pro-consumer focused over the past couple of years here. And moving into this generation, it seems like consumer first is the move now. But it's wild. I think back a long time ago, right, when I was just a kid and we were begging my mom to give us the credit card information so we could get Xbox Live and we could play Halo 2 online and create our own gamer tag. And like, here we are now. And it's so weird, Khalif, where I grew up with Xbox Live, right? It was always ingrained in me. We paid for that service for so long. And we've moved into now me being my own adult, being on my own, paying my own bills. And we've been paying for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, right? And now you look at it, and it's like that's been bundled in. I have a hard time believing of not paying for that and still playing online games, right? I've just been ingrained in this so long. And like, there are people out there that will benefit from this, right? They're going to be able to look at that and be like, this is a free to play game, Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone, where you download it and you can actually play it. And the cool one as well is you look at it, it's like looking for groups will now be available. So now we can find each other if we don't have Xbox Live Gold. I can do an Xbox party chat. I think that's a really cool feature as well. That's kind of getting buried here underneath the free to play games. Like, oh wow, we can party chat for free. That was pretty interesting. That's been behind a paywall all this years, and we never really thought about that because it's been so ingrained in me of like it's just been there, right? But wow, that's really cool stuff. Especially later on, we'll talk about the next Microsoft acquisition that's being eyed. Of like, man, Xbox Live Party Chat. What's that look like now? Being removed from the paywall. That's going to be really really fun to talk about moving forward. Gary, free to play games. I mean, you've played them all, Gary. What do you think about that?
It's an interesting case study, what happened with this, I think. We see this all the time, right? A company makes a move, public reacts very, very negatively to it, and the company is forced to kind of retreat or, regress or basically have a do-over. Oh, no, we're going to go back to the way it was or whatever. In this case, Microsoft actually did more than that, right? They didn't just revert it to the way it was. They actually swung the pendulum the other way. Now it's a better offering than it was before. Like more stuff is free than it was before this whole thing happened. And it's fascinating to imagine. I'd like to have been a fly on the wall, right? Because when they make a move like this, nobody does things like this lightly. They would have had a discussion about, well, how are our customers going to react? Well, some people aren't going to love it, but like it'll blow over. It'll be fine in the end. It'll everything will go back to the way it was, and we'll be making more money because we're charging more for this and that. But I can only imagine that the public reaction was way more vociferous and way more negative than they expected, because they were like, whoa, hold on. This is not what we expected. This is actually going to blow up in our faces. Now we need to kind of make good on this. We need to pull it back. And again, we see this all the time, right? A company makes a misstep. They try to overcharge or whatever, and people really, really lose their shit over it. And the company is forced to step back and reevaluate. It's just interesting to see Microsoft, again, like I said, not just go back to where they were, but actually swing the pendulum in the favor of, we're not just going to undo it. We're actually going to make it a better value than it even was before. So you love to see it. I think Microsoft clearly is calculating that even if they might lose some money in the short term, this is going to be better for their brand overall. And I think just generally, even though this was a misstep, they've done a great job of overcorrecting. Great for us. I'm not going to say it's an overcorrection, but from then it was, again, they overcompensated in correcting for it. And I think overall, it's going to be a good move for them. I don't know if it's going to be expensive move for them in turn, but they're obviously more concerned. Look at how much money they're sinking into Game Pass, right? That making that Game Pass increasingly, and I just an offer you can't refuse. As we keep saying all the time, not just the best deal in gaming, the best deal in entertainment. It's incredible what you get with Game Pass. And I just think Microsoft is doing a great job, even though it included this big mistake, and they corrected it, of really trying to kind of project this image and cultivate this image of being a very gamer-friendly, consumer-friendly, customer-friendly company that is not going to screw you over. They tried, maybe we can screw you over a little bit. No, oh shit, okay, no, we're not going to do that. And they retreated and it happened fast, right? It was real fast. In a matter of days, they regrouped and said, okay, we get it. We miscalculated, but we've heard you, and we're going to make this right. Good for them.
They pulled a Gary Mitchell and then regressed, and so they're not going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Gary Mitchell, let me tell you, and he gets off on the wrong foot in almost every interaction that he has, but then he makes it right. So I'm taking a leaf. Always glad to see Microsoft and Phil Spencer taking a leaf out of the Gary Mitchell playbook.
We talk about pro consumer, and we get so excited over here at Xbox now with the moves that they've been making and they're looking to make. And man, we're getting closer and closer to Halo Infinite, right? And that multiplayer is scheduled to be free to play, right? And now we're talking about removing the paywall. And what does this feel like to you to look at one of the flagship franchises, right? The one that I literally signed up for Xbox Live so many years ago just to be able to play. Now looking at it and being like, oh, the multiplayer is going to be free to play. And guess what? You don't even have to pay for Xbox Live Gold or Game Pass. Like, we have free to play internet going on over here with party chats and all. What does that look like to you?
I mean, again, it's an idea of, I think the thing that Microsoft has done really, really well, and I've been saying this for a couple of years, is that Microsoft has been doing, and Xbox specifically has been doing some really interesting, really smart plays that are not just for the first year or two that they've implemented it. They have been pushing out a really good roadmap that has been fantastic for consumers. Looking down the line 5 to 7 years, right? Where we see this conversation happen about Game Pass. We see the adaptive controller. We see, them even broaching the potential conversation around, making sure that you as a consumer have all these games that you can play from all these big studios now with the acquisition of Bethesda and all these other folks. Looking at it from that way forward, it feels like this is just another layer to say, once Halo drops, there is no excuse for you not to be able to jump in, right? It's gonna probably come day and date Game Pass. We know that that's probably gonna be a thing. We know that there's gonna be a probably conversation about all the other things are gonna bundle in with that, especially with that game probably going to be not only pretty big for them as a console mover and as a mover probably on PC, because I feel like that game has to be on PC too. Um, but I feel like there's probably gonna be an esports layer in there somewhere too, right? Where I am sure that the competitive parts of that community have been itching to get back into that thing in a real way. Hell, because all the Halo games got talked about in the other day around conversations about sound and how good the sound was. I downloaded Halo 5 again and started playing again, and I was like, ooh. I forgot how good this feels, man. I forgot what it feels like to rock a BR and a DMR. Like, damn, I forgot what this feels like to get into here and hit somebody with a sticky nade and laugh and run away. It's great to be able to do that stuff and get back into it. And again, if folks are coming back to these franchises without having to worry about paying for Xbox Live, without having to worry about playing with their friends because they can do it cross-platform, like that's a huge win for them on their potentially biggest title that they're going to have in the next couple of years, right? So again, if they can nail everything with that game coming out and being good, then they're in a good spot to be able to kind of, take the top of the mountain again.
Oh, you hit me so close to home with the esports too, Ka. Of like
Mhm.
when you look at that, right? I always am keeping up with esports. I'm watching different esports events. And every time as a watcher and a viewer and somebody who enjoys it, I leave those events going, I want to play that game. That's the
Mhm.
first words out of my mouth. I want to play Mortal Kombat. I want to play Smash, Valorant, League of Legends, Call of Duty. The list goes on and on. And then like sometimes you get roadblock where you're like, oh, well, that's $60. I'm not that good at the game. I don't want to do
Yep.
that. Now you look at Halo and you're going to watch the ACS and you're going to be like, oh my God, I got to get down with these guys because this is going to be fun. It's going to be free to play. You won't even need a gold account like we brought up before. Like this is going to be a really cool moment over here on the Xbox side that I'm pretty excited about. And I love that you brought that up. That's really cool.
Imagine when that game drops, fam. And we get the best friends together in a big team battle room. Warthogs flying all over the place, people wilding out with their customized Master Chief costumes and character skins. It's going to be so wild to be able to have that stuff happen on a next gen console with all the bells and whistles. It's going to be so nuts to be able to go back to that feeling of getting assassinated and hearing all the announcer kind of stuff that happens, you know what I mean? That first kill-tacular that's going to happen in Halo Infinite, when you hear that thing go off, is people are going to lose their minds. It's going to be so good.
You're bringing up the audio and you're getting me excited
I'm
because I
saying.
cannot wait to geek out about the latest Inside Infinite, but I got to save that for later, Kyle, because I'm going to go wild on that one because that was something. I'll give you just a little teaser. Gary, I don't know. I don't consider myself a big audio guy, right? I'm not big on the music scene. When I play games, I guess I don't keep that big of an ear out, right? I'm usually like on the visual side, more on the gameplay side. And after reading that Inside Infinite, I took so much appreciation from that team. I got excited for what that team's bringing to the table. I was blown away by how wild, crazy, and weird these audio teams are and like what they're doing. And it got me really excited. So I can't wait to geek out about that because I'm going to go wild here in just a little bit. But let's segue over to the next one. Khalif, you brought it up, right? I put on the hat to give a little RIP, rest in peace to my squad right there. Xbox Live, changing up just a little bit. And Khalif, maybe you know a little bit more about this. It's not It's not a D brand. It's not a rebrand. It's kind of a new name here. So we're going to have to talk about it and break it down for everybody. But this is going to come from The Verge from Tom Warren because he's one smart dude. Microsoft is rebranding Xbox Live to Xbox Network. Instances of new branding started appearing in the Xbox dashboard recently for beta testers, with clips being uploaded to Xbox Network instead of Live. Microsoft has now confirmed the name change. Quote, Xbox Network refers to the underlying Xbox Online service, which was updated in the Microsoft Service Agreement, says the Microsoft spokesperson in a statement to The Verge. The update from the Xbox Live to Xbox Network is intended to distinguish the underlying service from Xbox Live Gold memberships, end quote. 18 years of Xbox Live. My dude, the man I look up to, the one, the only Xbox Lives, Major Nelson, has now changed his name. Larry Herb now just goes by Xbox's Major Nelson. It's kind of it's a switch up for me. Yeah. What's up with this, Kaj? I mean, can I still wear the hat? Are we still talking about Xbox Live? What's up with the Xbox Network? School me a little bit.
I mean, it again, it feels like this conversation that's happening about ecosystem versus system, right? That's the conversation that has been at the forefront of everything that I remember. I mean, I remember being in a room at GDC maybe 6 years ago at this point, at the first time that Phil Spencer walked into a room and started to talk about, what they wanted to do in the cloud and what they wanted to do with kind of bridging all the services together. They didn't have a full plan yet at that moment, but now we see with xCloud being I think the huge differentiator between them and everyone else in the space in an actual tangible way. Xbox Network just makes sense from a what you're trying to talk about in terms of the services that you provide to people in that space. Again, it goes to that conversation about ecosystem. We want you in our network of devices. We want you in our network of games. We want you in our network of services. So again, it's like that conversation is about ecosystem versus system. And I think everything that they've been talking about, everything they've kind of been doing and maneuvering, feels like, again, it's about you not necessarily being console or platform agnostic, because most people are. I think a lot of people, and maybe I'm talking out of turn, but I think most people, you probably have more than one system in your house, whether it not be the kind of big two. You at least have a Switch or something else, or again, your mobile device is a platform, right? So that's another part of that ecosystem. So we all literally are not tied to one platform in that way. But this is now talking about how do you brand that out from a marketing and network perspective. And it is really interesting to hear them talk about the underlying systems that are the thing that we want to poke at, right? That talks a lot about the nuts and bolts of what makes it run. And then we have the conversation later about, potential acquisitions of what that means to that conversation too. Because again, it is all about how do you bridge the gap between what you're looking forward to from the way that your consumers use your stuff and how all of those things kind of talk together to each other. So it's again another smart move by them to start moving all of us along the path that they've been building for a long time.
Yeah, you make it sound so good, Kyle, right? Instead of Xbox Live, it's the ecosystem, right? It's the Xbox Network, right?
Yep.
This is everything. Xbox Live Gold will still stick around, right? That is that monthly service that we've talked about over here on the Xbox console itself. And, we're going to talk about that. We've said it before. Could that ever be phased out? Will we ever see that phased out and Xbox Game Pass becomes king and the one and only subscription service you've seen? But that's a conversation for another time. But it is interesting, and you put it so well, right? I was smiling and nodding my head of like, you can feel that, you can understand that. It's the ecosystem, PC, mobile, Xbox. This is everything that ties us together, that underlying working system right there that brings everything together. And we'll talk about another one that's going to bring us together in a network type situation. But yeah, Xbox Network sounds good right there. Now, Gary, you're the man, you're the wordsmith, right? You look at everything, you got the eye for it, Gary. What's up with this lowercase n? You got Xbox Live is all capitalized. Xbox Network, does that look good to you with the lowercase n right there, or should that be capitalized?
I got bigger problems than that, Mike. I don't like it. I don't like any of it.
Me.
You don't like it? I don't like any of it. I was on KFGD earlier this week. It was the day the news dropped, and I'll tell you what I told Greg. I don't like it. I don't get it. Xbox Live was a great name. The Xbox Live is a brand name that is as old as Xbox itself. They launched together. They have spent 20 plus years building up the Xbox Live brand and putting it into the public consciousness. We all knew what Xbox Live was, and Microsoft just thrown it away and replaced it with something new that I don't think rolls off the tongue as well. It's an extra syllable. You're laughing, but this is the kind of shit that marketing consultants get paid millions of dollars to think about. Even XBN doesn't roll off the tongue as well as PSN, just phonetically. It doesn't. It just doesn't. And to me, this goes to a broader issue. I love Microsoft. I love the entertainment side of it. I love Xbox. I think Phil Spencer's done great stuff over there. I think they're doing this current generation is, I think, the strongest that it's been in a real long time, and they're doing great work. The naming conventions of the Xbox ever since the first one. I like the Xbox. Remember, that was a prototype name, a placeholder name, but it stuck and it ended up being a great name. We all love the Xbox name, but they got stuck behind an 8 ball with the Xbox 360. I understand why they did it at the time, but they've never recovered from it. Xbox One, Xbox One S. Now we've got the Series S and the Series X. I'm sorry, I've said it a million times, but it's confusing. Consumers are easily confused. I know at least 2 people, just anecdotally, that went out and bought a 1S thinking they bought a Series S. It's easy to get confused. Not everyone's dialed into the podcasts and the websites the way we are. Regular consumers go into the store and they're easily confused. I don't think it's. I think the naming convention is not great. This is an area where Sony's always an advantage. PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everyone gets it. Easy. I'm not necessarily saying that we wanted Xbox 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe they could have come up with something different. It just didn't need to be as confusing as it is. Now, at the same time, I don't have the Galaxy brain. I haven't got Phil Spencer's brain. That's why Phil Spencer's got the job that he's got, and why I'm here mouthing off on this podcast for free. I don't pretend to understand a lot of this shit. It's above my pay grade. I just know it's not sitting right with me, Mike. It's just not. Xbox Live was a good name. They spent 20 years establishing it. I don't know why they would throw it away and start with something and bring in something else that I just don't think is as good or as snappy. But what the fuck do I know?
What does Gary know? What does Gary? Gary had to go on that round. I mean, Gary, we all feel you, right? I'm growing up. I know Xbox Live. I got Kyle over here. He's breaking it down. He's making it sound good to me about the network. I mean, I'm torn in both directions here, Gary. I don't know where you want me to go.
The funny part about it is I think that they had a much better Xbox Live logo. I don't know what the new logo for Xbox Network is going to be, if they even go in that route and do that. And Gary's right about the kind of conversation about like, what do marketers go through to have to get a thing into the public consciousness? I mean,
they really analyze the way that the human brain passes words and what phonetically rolls off the tongue easily. They go to that granular level because that shit makes a difference, even if you're not consciously thinking about it.
Yeah, it's a very like dog cat brain thing for humans, right? Where it's like that sounds better to me in the way that it does over on this part of the thing as opposed to the other thing. So let's
like just simply thinking about it. Think about it, right? PSN, right? That's a soft vowel going into another vowel. PSN, it just flows. XBN, that's a consonant hitting another hard consonant. I know this sounds like I'm overthinking it, but I swear to you, this is the kind of shit that they think about when they name these things. I just don't think it's as good. It's not snappy.
Just like the PSN, it also just like kind of looks like pissin'. And, you know, that's like already a word.
Who doesn't love pissing?
Exactly.
Everyone does it.
That's not a word.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's interesting that you bring this up, Gary, because like I'm thinking about it, right? I've been sitting on it for about the week. I've been staring at my hat and like the bright green with the neon orange, right? And it's always sat with me. But then I think about like where we're going, right? I think about the day and age that we live in with all these social media networks, right? I'm on the social media all the time. And like I look at it as there I am sitting next to you and Ka and Paris at an E3, and Phil comes out and he has the big circle with me in the middle and he says, "Welcome to the Xbox Network." And it just feels right.
I'm thinking of
screenshots sharing. I'm thinking about connecting with my friends through clubs. I'm thinking about my friends and I meeting up in a party chat, and just the network now feels more 20th century.
It's different for everyone. See, it's so funny. It's different for everyone. I have the exact opposite. You said to me live, right? I'm thinking live event. It's happening now. It's kinetic. It's energy. It's movement. It's happening. Network. I feel like I'm on LinkedIn. I'm fucking around with my router settings. That's not as cool to me. It's not as cool to me.
I mean, Gary, you're right. There's both sides of the coin. I feel that, Gary. I feel that.
They're both valid. They're both valid takes.
They're both good takes. The Xbox IP event. We'll figure it out and make it feel like that. That's good. That's good. I love
Very
that.
interesting one. A lot of people have been talking about that, but let's pause for a quick moment to hear a word from our sponsor. This week, the Kind of Funny Xcast is brought to you by ExpressVPN. I know that none of you watch porn, but just in case you have any friends that do, you'll want to pay attention to this. With everything going on in the world, governments have increased their surveillance. They're using your devices to track your location, movements, and in many countries, your internet activity. You don't want to be literally caught with your pants down. And one of the best ways to keep your online browsing activity private is by using ExpressVPN. When you use ExpressVPN, your internet connection is rerouted through a secure, encrypted server so you can surf the web anonymously without anyone looking over your shoulder. Look, I know you probably think all you have to do is use incognito mode and no one can see that you've watched every last hentai video on Pornhub. But you're wrong. Even when you use incognito mode, your internet provider like Comcast and AT&T can see every single website you visit. And if you live on campus or use a shared Wi-Fi, your network admin can too. To be honest, that's kind of scary and freaky. Without ExpressVPN, you're giving people a free license to peek over your shoulder and see all the freaky shit you're looking at. So protect your privacy today and get 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. Visit expressvpn.com/kindafunny. That's expressvpn.com/kindafunny for 3 months free with a 1-year package. Visit express.vpn/kindafunny to learn more. All right, welcome back, everybody. We got another fun story on the way. A little more networky, a little social media type community-based thing right here. And of course, another big one of, could this be the next billion-dollar acquisition for Microsoft and Team Xbox? And this has gone wild through the social media sphere over this past week since it kind of came to light. So could Microsoft and Team Xbox be purchasing Discord? Get ready for this one, folks, because it's a wild topic. Coming from Bloomberg, started this off. Microsoft Corp is in talks to acquire Discord, a video game chat community, for more than $10 billion, according to people familiar with the matter. Discord has been talking to potential buyers, and software giant Microsoft is in the running, but no deal is imminent, said the people who have asked not to be identified. The discussions are private. Quote, Microsoft possibly acquiring Discord makes a lot of sense as it continues to reshape the gaming business more towards software and services, said Bloomberg intelligence analyst Matthew Canterman. There's a big opportunity to bundle Discord's premium offering Nitro into Game Pass service to drive more subscriptions from the last reported 18 million, end quote. On top of this, that started the week to add more fire over here to this one. Now the Wall Street Journal has reported on this and says the team, that the companies are in exclusive talks and could agree upon a deal in the next month. And this has gone wild now. I'm telling you, Khalif and Gary, you want to talk about Xbox Live and Xbox Network, you throw Discord into the gaming sphere on social media, people go insane. So there's a couple of pieces here. Is this the right move for Microsoft and Xbox to acquire Discord, the voice communication program? Is this, let's just start off with that. Gary and Kyle, do you think this is the right move?
I think it's a very aggressive move by Microsoft. Microsoft is acquisitive AF these days. They are just out there buying, Bethesda.
You're so hip.
Bethesda. Well, I got Khalif on the show. I got to represent. I got to make it look like I'm there for him. It's look, Bethesda 1 week, Discord the next. I don't know if Discord's going to go through. First of all, credit to I don't know who they are, but credit to the people that built Discord into apparently a $10 billion business, right? Discord in a short, I'm old enough to remember Ventrilo and TeamSpeak and shit like that, but Discord came along and like they have built that into a brand name that is synonymous, not just with voice chat, but just like social connectivity and community in the gaming space and outside of the gaming space as well. I'm on Discords that have nothing to do with gaming. People just use it because it's a great place to like have a little private forum or whatever. But, it's still the main footprint is in gaming. We used it on Animal Talking, the GTA role playing stuff I'm doing right now. There's a major Discord for it. It's not just voice chat. We're talking on Discord right now. We're literally using Discord right now for this conversation. So credit to the people that built Discord. It's a great. Discord. Everyone's got complaints about any kind of software. Discord's got things that it needs to fix, but it's a great piece of software. It's a great client. I love using it. Really easy to use. Really well featured. I'm a Discord fan. Microsoft buying it for because it has such a big footprint and making Discord synonymous with the Xbox platform is for them potentially a great move, right? You can imagine all the ways that the Discord chat and community functionality can be folded into the Xbox ecosystem now, and I think it's a very potentially, if Microsoft is Xbox is on the road to world domination, this is potentially a very good stepping stone along that path. I'm not super excited necessarily about Discord and getting folded into the world of like Microsoft chat products, Skype. Come on. There's a reason why Zoom ate its lunch. Skype is garbage. Don't get me started on Microsoft Teams. I was on a project in my day job the other day. I was, oh my God, I'm really excited to work on this project with you all. I've been wanting to do this for years. They said, great, here's the link for our Microsoft Teams. I'm like, maybe I don't want to do the project. Absolute garbage. I've got a pretty high-end Windows 10 PC here. I have to use the browser version of Microsoft Teams because the app is a piece of shit. So I'm really, really hoping that they don't fuck it up. Discord is a great product. I think it could be a great relationship between Microsoft and Discord if they find a way to the potential is there. They just got to find a way if the acquisition does come off to fold it all into something in a way where it's additive. I know obviously a lot of people out there are big fans of Discord, especially if you're on like the Sony side of the spectrum. Like, what does this mean for me? Am I going to lose some of is some of those features going to get folded into like Microsoft exclusivity? Again, we don't know. It's Bethesda all over again, right? Who knows what this means? But one thing I do know what it means is that Microsoft is hungry. Xbox is really, really making some moves right now. Bethesda, Discord, Game Pass. I mean, they're really, really busy right now.
Oh man, I just have to say, first of all, Gary, I love you.
Yeah, wild. He's wild today on a Friday.
I love it. This is that Gary energy I needed today. If you want to not work with Gary Whitta, put your project on
Teams. Yeah, send me WebEx, Discord, Zoom, fucking Blue Jeans. What the fuck is Blue Jeans? I'd rather do that than Microsoft Teams.
Oh my God. I have said on numerous shows, and I wish I had like the pull quote where I could just remember the first time I said it, but it was, and I have been a big proponent of this happening for a very long time. I've said, end quote, the way to win the next generation of gaming is the first console to bring in Discord as its main.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah, I've been saying like whoever does that wins this generation of gaming. And people are like, why, Kyle? It's just people just talking on whatever. And I was like, no, I said, you have to understand just how big the community aspect is for so many people of how they actually get things done when it comes to their communities, and being able to potentially imagine this scenario. You boot up your Xbox or you boot up your PC. Well, we'll do it more for the console because I think it's a bigger leap there. And you're like, hey, every best friend who wants to jump into this game at Halo, jump into the Discord. You're already in chat in game, and now we just get a chance to boot up in the game and play. That is a supplement to looking for group for LFG, right? It's that one thing that makes that one leap between how do I get all the people who I care about and talk to and interact with inside of whatever ecosystem they're in. Again, networking, the network part of all of this, and how do I get them into the thing that I want to go do as fast as possible? Most people right now are doing all of that stuff in Discord anyway. So this is the easiest way to kind of mash up those two things. And with Microsoft doing it, again, it goes back to that conversation of, I've heard a lot of people talk about, again, that angle that you had, Gary, about like, this is going to screw up, the potential things that are kind of good within the ecosystem for what they're already doing. And does this ruin Discord in some form or fashion? I don't think that they're going to take whatever Discord was and currently is and morph it into something that it can't be or shouldn't be. Like, you're still going to be able to use it on PC. I don't think they're going to change up the way that works or gate it in some weird funky way. It now will just be baked into the OS of an Xbox Series X or S in a way that you don't have to think about when you're trying to do things like what me and Danny and Rihanna were doing the other day, playing zombies across multiple different platforms. And then when the in-game chat doesn't work, we're like, damn it, we all have to go try to figure out where my iPhone dongle is so I can go talk to you.
It's
in
funny
Discord.
because this was actually a conversation we were having with Paris recently when Microsoft dropped the new Xbox headset, right?
Yeah.
And you can have it, as well as talking to the Xbox, you can have it connect to an external Bluetooth device, 2 sound sources at once.
Yeah.
And Paris was excited because he could pipe in Discord for like third-party voice chat. The idea here is that would no longer be an issue because it would just all be folded into one thing on the Xbox platform.
Yep. And again, that is it is a fundamental thing of, again, removing barriers for fun. It's a thing that we talk about at work often is time to fun, right? How long does it take you to get into the thing that you are trying to do?
Yeah,
and
we talk about friction a lot, right? We want a frictionless experience.
Yeah, and you want to make sure that you're removing every barrier that you possibly can for people so that they don't have to think about it. I know for a fact that anytime I go into playing a game of zombies now, the first time that we try to go from like if I'm on my PSN, I'm on my PlayStation, and other folks on their Xboxes, and we're trying to play, as soon as we have that one moment where it's like, oh shit, I can't hear you. We're trying to get this thing to work. It takes all the vibe out of the room.
Even after all these years, like how many generations? I mean, this is next generation, but every online gaming session I have, there's like half an hour just fucking around trying to hear each other, right?
Yeah. And it's a difficult thing to get right. And I think if you pull in a company like Discord to shore that up in another way, and who knows what that means in terms of being able to either help bolster their streaming capabilities, because we're doing all this on video and Discord now. Maybe there's some aspects there that wind up get folded in that we didn't have before. Maybe there's some other protocols that Discord has done really well to be able to help with some of that stuff. There's just a lot of good angles for this thing to be smart for the Xbox team. And I think, again, I will reiterate it. Whoever gets this first, if they get it, that's a big win for them in their console.
Big win. Really cool. And it was something when they brought this up this week, I thought back, it's like, man, I've used Discord for the past like 3+ years, like straight now. And I've lost good friends to Discord now because I remember calling up Earl the Squirrel and he's like, yo, I want to play Call of Duty with you. And I'm like, well, Squirrel, like we're on Discord now. And he's like, what the heck is that? And I'm like, he's like, can we just Xbox party chat? I'm like, no, man, like we're all over here now. Like, I need you to figure this out. And like you said, Khalif, right? It's like now he's on his phone and he's got 2 headphones on. And it just doesn't feel right or look right. And it is interesting because we talk about community, we talk about a network, we talk about an ecosystem, and Discord encompasses all 3 if you can get it with Team Xbox for the console edition as well. Because on PC, you're already there, right? Discord pops up, that app works flawlessly. You can jump into your different servers, as Gary said. You can jump in and out of audio chat lobbies in a flash, right? It's not, hey, let me invite my friend, because I know a lot of people are going to be like, hey, Mike, you can just keep your Xbox Live party chat open. We all know little cousin Timmy's coming in. And you don't want little cousin Timmy, right? We all put that thing to private. Then I got to re-invite you. We got to get it all going, right? It's not as seamless as this jump in and out. And as well, you hit it really well, Khalif. It's like, this is the community. This is where my friends are at, right? The text channels in there of like, hey, this is what's going on. And like, you can already see it in your mind, the seamless integration to bring this into the quote unquote Xbox network, right? I share my screenshot onto the network. I can share it into the Discord channel of my choosing. We can grab people and play. We can put up looking for group posts in there. It could really work flawlessly. And it's pretty something special. And it's one that is now the big gaming mecca. Everybody has a Discord, whether you're an influencer, a streamer, just some jabroni on the street. Everybody's got Discord. Everybody uses it. And it really helps out, especially with this cross-platform play, this next generation that me and Gary want, right? Where we're playing with everyone and anyone. And this helps out because Xbox Live Party Chat is not on PlayStation. It's not on Switch. And I can't hear you or talk to you on the squad when I need you the most during these, co-op games. And man, oh man, $10 billion, right? That's more than the Bethesda deal. And it's like people gawk at that, like say what? But then
that's a good point when you think about it, Mike. Man, Discord is more valuable to Microsoft than Bethesda with like all of their major IPs. I mean, that's really something to think about, like how much Microsoft thinks this can help them, that they're willing to drop that kind of money on it. If it's true.
You ready for this, Gary? 140 million active users per month is what Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal have reported on. 140 million active users per month. You bake in a little Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for a month just to give
Yeah.
people a little test.
Yeah.
You get a fraction of that, Gary. That number boosts up. And that's what you want, right? You think of the Azure cloud service, right? You bring that over from that Amazon service over there. You bring it into that. That helps out those numbers. And it helps out the whole team of Microsoft instead of just Xbox as well. A lot of value in this and a really cool opportunity for me personally. I think this is really, really awesome. But, you know, Khalif, you hit it on the head. I was going to ask you guys, like, there I am on Twitter, right? I'm looking at the gaming world. I'm looking at different posts that are reporting on this. And it is electric of, don't do this. I hate this. Don't let Discord get sold. Look at what they did with Skype. I hate Teams. You know what I mean? It's like, man, I thought in my mind, this would be the move. This is what I've always wanted as a gamer. And like, there's that vocal outcry of like, don't do it. But of course, that's like the vocal minority. You know what I mean? We know a lot of people are silent, like would love to take advantage of this. But what's up with that outcry, Kyle? Why are so people against that?
I mean, it's that kind of old thing of, well, I'm not going to say it's old because it happens all the time, is you have someone come in and swoop in and buy a thing and then they just totally ruin it, right? It's like, you know, it's like watching Paris go buy ribs and then see what the end result. It's like, man, that was a good piece of meat and now you've just ruined it. But it's one of those things where I think there is some worry because, and there's been a couple of articles that came out in the past that have been like, here are all the studios that Microsoft has acquired, and then where did they wind up going, right? You know, there have been a bunch of different versions of that conversation, and those have been real. Like there have been, you know, people who have been brought into the fold, and then those games either die or those studios have either, you know, no longer exist because of them not outputting or whatever the wind up conversation was. That's always going to be a part of the equation. I think that's always what happens when you have a merger and acquisition, where some stuff works out really well and some stuff just doesn't, right? And it's because you want to figure out what's the best thing you can pluck out of the technology that you want to add to yours. And sometimes that doesn't mix as well as you want it to. I do think though that Discord is a different kind of beast within all of this, because it would be so tied to what they are trying to do, and there isn't like they're trying to do something new with it. They're trying to shore up something that they did. I think a lot of people, when they think about what that looks like, they think about Beam that wind up becoming Mixer,
Yeah.
and saying, well, they brought that in and then it wind up dying, right? The conversation there was a very different one, where Microsoft was literally just really getting into the streaming space when Twitch was already a kind of you know, a juggernaut on the rise of kind of already having lots of different things that went down with it that kind of worked. If you think about the acquisition of Beam into Mixer, there's so many things that Twitch stole from Mixer,
Yeah.
right? So it's not like they did a bad job of pulling in a good acquisition. They just pulled in an acquisition too late, right? Discord is already an established thing that if they pull that into the ecosystem, they then just bolster and add another layer to a good piece of layer cake that they already are building. So I think it's a different conversation, and it doesn't move the needle as far as you would think from a services perspective. It gives them way more options to do something that they already really do fairly well, and broadens that conversation out for the players and for the competition. I mean, for the consumer in that way.
It's going to be a wild one. And they say, Wall Street Journal out here say we could see this in the next month. That's pretty wild right there, right? Like, what does that look like? Does that come down where people will be like, you know what, we have to shut this deal down from the larger ups? Or could this go through? It's going to be really exciting to see. But Microsoft eyeing another acquisition here. We've talked about it of like what's next. And a lot of people look towards, you know, more studios, more teams to develop games. And of course, that's never going to go away, right? But a really interesting one, kind of out of left field, out of nowhere, of like, oh, hey, guess what, gamers over here? What about Discord? And it is fun when you look back. They tried to buy TikTok, right? They tried to go into TikTok, and that got shut down. They've looked at Pinterest before, and I like the idea of a social media network. And yes, Discord kind of is a little bit of both, right? It is social media. It is a voice comms situation. You use it for so much, but the community, connecting, the ecosystem is the huge part here, and it fits so well into the network.
And even if you wanted to go super wild, right? So suppose they buy Discord and then they immediately just kill teams. It makes sense. You know, if Teams is the terrible Gary Whitta stepchild that no one wants.
I don't
'cause
know.
Gary
The funny
won.
thing is, I was belly aching about Teams earlier this week because I couldn't get it to work. It's a nightmare. But then I had a bunch of people saying, "Hey, we use it in our enterprise for our business," and and they have no problem with it. I think if you're in like an enterprise, like business, corporate kind of setting, maybe it's a good product for you. Discord's really not that. I mean, it's much more kind of consumer, gamer, cool vibe, right? I think Teams and Discord serve very different audiences. It might be there's some way for them to complement each other in some way. I don't know, but I think they're very different products for very different audiences.
I will raise my hand from an enterprise perspective and say Teams is still ass.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
It is not. It is the thing I hate the most about my job when I get to do my job is jumping into Teams. Teams is ass. Hashtag
Okay, well,
Teams is ass.
if they if they buy Discord, you can raise your hand and say, "Hey, let's figure this out. Get rid of Teams." Then.
Brother Cudney, please, when this episode comes out, give me a gift that says Teams is ass in it. Thank you.
Let's keep it moving. Let's have some fun. Let's talk indies and let's talk spotlighting incredible creators and their awesome games, because today we had a big one, folks. I thought, you know what? Oh, they're hosting an event on March 26th. What are they going to do? We said, are they going to show Elden Ring? No, it came out. They said, you know what? ID at Xbox is teaming up with Twitch Gaming to put on an awesome indie showcase. And it was really exciting. I didn't know, Khalif and Gary, that it was going to be 3.5 hours long. I was blown away. I loved it. They had dev diaries. They were talking with developers. They had
goddamn Snyder
hosts,
Cut showcase. What the hell?
Oh my God, the Snyder Cut of showcases here, Gary. Wasn't ready for it. But the coolest part was the showcase did spotlight over 60 games coming to Xbox, and including over 20 of your favorite indie games that will launch day one on Xbox Game Pass. And you know, I love when games come to Game Pass because that saves me a whole lot of money and I get to try new games that I know I would definitely skip. And in this case, indie games, they get a whole lot of love because sometimes I look at them, I'm like, I could skip that. And then sometimes I'm like, yo, I'm drooling. I want this. And now I can meet in the middle and play all of them. I do want to highlight one cool one. They had the ID at Xbox team on, and they said a really cool one I think really resonates and something special with what they've created with ID at Xbox. Over the 7 years, they have helped put out 2,000 games on the indie side. And over those 7 years, they have helped indie devs earn over $2 billion through the program. That is something I wanted to make sure before we jump into this, how cool ID at Xbox is, right? You get to see these showcases. And one of the things for me that we brought up last week with Paris was whenever I go to the E3s, I feel like they bring up the ID at Xbox and you see these cool indie games, but they're just a flash in the pan, right? Here's 3 minutes, here's 5 minutes. We're off to the next thing. See you later. This was 3.5 hours, right? We talked to developers. We got to see different games. 60 games were spotlit. That was really something special to me. So I want to give some love to the ID at Xbox team, which was really, really cool. But guys, I brought up a whole lot of trailers because, I mean, I got to show you all the games that I'm hyped about. I got to talk to you guys and see what you're interested in. And one of them, my guy Ka, is, you know, I love first-person shooters. You know, I love big team battles. You know, I like getting crazy in the Warthog. You know, I love giant mech suits. And Exo Mecha has caught my eye over the past year. And at first I said, yo, this game looks like booty. It looks like booty. Now, all of a sudden, they came out with this newest trailer, and I'm thinking to myself, is this Halo? Like, what the heck is happening here? It's up on the screen now. This game looks better. It's got a grappling hook. It's got a Warthog right there. You see? God, what is going on with this game? It looks great.
Yo, because I was like doing work. I was like in a work meeting, and I'm like paying attention to both things. And I was like, yo, is this Infinite? I was like, yo, is Infinite on right now? And I was freaking out because I was just like, yo, this looks so good. I did not think this was an indie game.
This almost has like a Crisis kind of vibe to it.
It totally has the Crisis vibe on it. And I was like, this looks like, it changes the, and I want to go back really quick for a step about where ID at Xbox has come from into where it is right now. A game like this wasn't a thing that you would see in an indie showcase before. this is not a game that you would see as a part of an indie showcase. This is a thing that you would see from a newly acquired a developer who was kind of just like up and coming into the space, but it wouldn't be a thing you see as an indie. And it shows the kind of just how different the indie space has grown, and also just how smartly ID at Xbox has kind of maneuvered over the past 7 years to be able to pull in devs who are doing stuff like this. Like I have a big I'm a big fan of Chris Charla. We're gonna have him actually on the show on Spawn on Me next week to talk
Cool.
about all this stuff. But it is one of those things of just being like, there's a freaking mech on the thing that turned into a tank. Like what? Like this is wild that this is a thing now. And I'm just so excited for this game. This game looks like he's riding a rocket in this. What is happening in this thing? This. I'm kind of looking at it on a different screen, but it's wild what they were able to pull off in this game.
So cool. I want to make sure I read it up because whenever we show you the games, I want to give you the fun hype blurb about it. Exomecha is a free-to-play online competitive first-person shooter that takes place on a planet called Omeka. Our game provides players an immersive experience with its high-quality visuals, flexible gameplay, giant mechs, unique gadgets and abilities, and boss battles. Our unique gameplay brings limitless possibilities on how you can engage in the combat. Release date, August 2021. So if they can hold true to that, we're going to have a good summertime with that one. And Gary, I think this will ring to you. You know what reminds me of this? Tribes, Gary. And you know, you and I
Oh,
love
little Starseeds Tribes,
We
little
love
Planet Side. I used to love both of
Ooh.
those. But Starseeds Tribes in particular. Just in general, I want to say, because you touched on it earlier, Mike, I think one of the areas where Xbox is really, really excelling right now is in this indie space. The ID Xbox program, I think, is one of the strongest things that they have over there. There are, just in general, it's great to see, the indie ecosystems, I think, are strong across all three major console platforms right now. There's great indies on PlayStation. There's great indies on Switch. But I mean, I may be wrong, but I don't know how much those other platforms are really doing to kind of encourage indie game development on their platform. Nintendo just sits back and says, hey, look, we've sold 50 billion Switches. You're going to want to be on our platform, right? And everyone's on that platform because they know any indie game developer will tell you, if you want to sell indie games, put it on the Nintendo Switch. That's where they see the greatest return. PlayStation, I think, does. Everyone has like these biz dev people that are trying to encourage indie developers to come to their platform. But I don't know if PlayStation or Nintendo has anything as robust as the Idea Xbox program. Khalif, you mentioned Chris Charla. Chris Charla's been a good friend of mine for 25 years since we were both in video game magazines together. I don't know anyone who loves video games more than Chris Charla. And he knows everyone in the video game world. And he's fostered and nurtured great relationships with all these developers. And they just have this great culture of like trying to cultivate, and foster and nurture independent game development on the Xbox platform. And I think it gives them a bit of an edge. If I was an indie game developer, if I'm just looking at straight up money, I'm probably going to go to the Nintendo Switch. But if I could, just because the install base is what it is, massive. Any indie game developer will tell you the Switch is where the money's at. But if I want to feel loved as an indie game developer, Xbox is probably the place that's going to do that more than any other platform. And you see it in some of the games that are coming through.
And really quickly, I think that if you think back even, 2 generations, Sony was huge into the indie space. It was like the biggest knock on the Xbox platform was that they have no indie presence. They really didn't have a thing that they were doing in that way.
Yeah.
Back in the day when Shane Bettenhausen was working at Sony on third party stuff, I even think John was doing some stuff over there too in that space too. And now this was ID at Xbox was a direct the making of it was a direct response to that third party lack of indie development stuff. And now we've seen 7 years later, I would say, if you really think about it, Microsoft might even have a better suite of indie developed games than Sony has. I know Greg Rice moved over there from over at Double Fine into going into PlayStation to go do third party and kind of indie stuff now, and they're kind of reinvigorating that conversation because they had so many good AAA titles and exclusives in that space. So now there's an actual level of parity between the two platforms in a way that we hadn't seen before, and it's really nice because again, you get a game like EXO, and that's not a thing you would have seen 2 years ago.
Yeah, and the
in
thing
that
is, a
sense.
lot of it is just they smell the money, right? We're increasingly realizing in this business that the next big billion-dollar franchise isn't necessarily AAA. It could be
Yep.
Fall Guys or Among Us or Rust,
Mm-hmm.
right? The next big, huge game that everyone's talking about could come out of the indie space. We've seen it time and time again. So it's a good business investment, to be fostering these game developers and saying, "Come to our platform." And I think Sony does have a program similar to Idea Xbox. I don't know too much about it. I know the Idea Xbox program very well because I know the people that run it. And again,
Mhm.
you're seeing it's like 60 new games, like a 4-hour Snyder Cut, a showcase. I mean, that's you see how many developers are lining up to be on the platform. And of course, the best thing about that is, as Mike said earlier, a lot of these games just go straight onto Game Pass.
Yep.
So if you want the best deal as a developer, for as an indie developer, you might go to any of these platforms. Again, Switch has got a big install base. Sony and Xbox might kind of lure you over as well. But if you're and these games show up, inevitably, like Hades and Fall Guys, Among Us, they're all going to end up on all of these platforms eventually. So it doesn't matter what platform you're going to get all these indies, unless they time up exclusively in one case or another. But if you're looking to get like the best bang for your buck, Game Pass is going to be where it's at because so many. Look how many. What it was like 60 games announced today for in the showcase. What was it? 20 of them straight to Game Pass.
Mhm.
Pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing. And the coolest part is like you see Exo Mecha and you think, Snowbike Mike, that's right up your alley, right? You love shooters, you love multiplayer games. You would have got that regardless. Well, now let me show you the power of what this awesome conference did and Game Pass, right? Now I look at Void Train and let me take you on a weird adventure, boys. When this caught my eye and I said, what the heck is this game? I want to play it, y'all. So Void Train, a fresh take on the survival genre. You control and upgrade your own train in an endless adventure full of surprises and dangers. You play as mechanics who have fallen into a new world for them with their own rules and laws. Discover it, learn to survive in it, explore it. Immerse yourselves in a new amazing adventure. On the way, you will meet outlandish creatures, many secrets, puzzles, and challenges. Gather resources for crafting useful items and structures that help in your survival. Customize the train the way you want it and adventure between the worlds of Void Train. This is the weirdest thing I think I've seen all day, right? I was like, what is this? It reminded me of The Raft, if you guys have played that over on
Oh,
Steam,
yeah.
where you build
Oh,
the
yeah, love
raft,
Raft.
right? But then all of a sudden, there's these scary monsters. I'm on a train going through different universes, and I thought, this is wild. This is what indies mean to me. Taking that step, like Paris always says it, right? Going out of the norm, putting yourself out there and trying something different and seeing if it will become a hit, right? Because we know the AAA formula, right? You know the big blockbusters, and then you see this, and you're like, ain't nobody putting that out. Ain't nobody doing Void Train. Nobody's doing that. Another really cool one that I knew would catch Gary Whitta's eye. This is called Moon Glow Bay, and they actually had the two developers on this one. This is a really cute indie title coming your way. Moon Glow Bay is a wholesome fishing RPG set along the 1980s Eastern Canadian coastline, featuring a playful voxel art style and sumptuous soundtrack. Embark on a diverse and emotionally charged story playing as a rookie angler seeking to fulfill their parents' final wish. With a journal and a rod in hand, explore the furthest reaches of the ocean and learn to cast nets, set traps, and fish while documenting over 100 aquatic species while you uncover all the secrets of the bay. She lives in a fishing town, Gary, where nobody fishes anymore. You go out there, you catch different fish along the bay, you come back, they have a cooking mini game, and then you sell the things you cook in a vending machine, Gary. And it's this beautiful art style right here that catches your eye. And they said there's also mysteries. What was that? Was that a whale, Khalif? I don't know what the heck just popped up on our screen.
Saying.
And it's cool. This is the stuff that catches your eye, and you're like, wow, this is cool stuff.
I'm excited again. Go ahead, Gary. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Cleve.
No, I was just gonna say, I think again, this is like the beauty of the indie space, right? Which is you just don't know what people are making, and when you get a chance to see cool stuff and new ideas like this, it just makes you remember that we pigeonhole games as these very specific things, and we only really talk about AAA titles when it comes to lots of different spaces. It's like a very big rift in between the games that we kind of talk about and the ones that gets a lot of love. And it's the blessing of a thing like Game Pass and ID at Xbox and all those other kind of smaller indie studios and gatherings of those games to make sure that everyone kind of has a seat at the table. So I love stuff like this. This is super cool to be able to see if this is going to be a thing.
Yeah, this is why I love indie games. I mean, the difference between indie games and AAA games is really the difference between indie games and like big Hollywood blockbusters, right? You know, the AAA games and the AAA movies, there's not a tremendous amount of iteration, right? Like just talk about the games space. Like, sorry, I meant to say innovation. There's not a tremendous amount of innovation. What you see in the AAA space is basically just constant kind of incremental iteration on shit that has been proven to sell before, right? Because if you're putting up $250 million to make a game, you're going to be very averse to taking a massive risk. And let's just do the shit that we know works, right? Maybe we'll add like a little wrinkle, but let's just fucking make another Assassin's Creed or another Battlefield or whatever, like shit that we know works. Because, you know, our shareholders, we don't want to go to the casino here. We want to know we're going to make our money back. So you don't see a tremendous amount of innovation. I said it a million times. The people at Activision, at Electronic Arts and Ubisoft, they're not patrons of the arts. They're in the business. They're in the business of maximizing shareholder value, and the way to do that is to do the shit that has been proven to work time and time again. It's why you don't see a lot of innovation. Where you see the innovation is in the indie games, where there's much less financial exposure to risk, and you can afford to take a risk. So you see crazy shit like this. You see something like Moonglow Bay. By the way, nice to see our mutual friend Kate Stark as part of the showcase today, making moves, interviewing the developers. Good to see that. Moonglow Bay, definitely stood out to me. Has that kind of that almost reminded me a little bit of The Tourist. Yep. I don't know if it's like voxels or whatever, but it has that kind of like 3D old school vibe to it. Maybe a little bit of Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley, build your own little bucolic empire. I'm loving it. I don't want to get too far ahead of what Mike might be bringing up, but there was a bunch of other games. The ones that picked out that stood out for me, the ones that are like, this is some crazy shit. I mean, I'm looking at Genesis Noir. I'm looking at Nobody Saves the World, We Are the Caretakers, Death's Door. These are the ones that stood out to me, like the crazy shit that no one's ever going to spend $100 million making, but you don't need to. Spend a few $1 million making it, and it's just a cool idea, and maybe it's the next big thing. The Ascent. There's a bunch of stuff that stood out to me today. But again, just like this, the kind of crazy shit that you find on Steam. Right, but like no one's ever going to bankroll this. But like maybe a handful of developers, with a on a wing and a prayer, they take a shot at something crazy, and that's how you end up with Among Us. That's how you end up with every now and again one of these things breaks through and makes a big impact. So again, that's why I'm so glad that even as the AAA games have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, we still have this really, really thriving ecosystem for indie games and indie development. So again, you love to see it. You love to see it.
You absolutely love to see it. Gary, you got me so hyped, and I love when you get passionate about these games that catch your eye and you get excited about. And I'll save the rest for everybody out there listening and watching on YouTube. You guys can go out there. You can go check out the ID at Xbox crossover with Twitch Gaming Indie Spotlight. But here are the 20-plus titles coming your way day one on Game Pass that you can look forward to from that awesome Xbox showcase. Art of Rally, Astra's Ascending, Backbone, Boyfriend Dungeon, Craftopia, Dead Static Drive, Edge of Eternity, Hello Neighbor 2, Library of Runia, Little Witch in the Woods, Moonglow Bay that we just saw, Naruto Boy, which I really love. I can't wait to showcase that one day, which was really, really cool.
That looks so good. Nobody
Saves the World, which we're going to actually talk about and show a first impressions in just a couple of moments. Omno, Recompile, my apologize, Sable, She Dreams Elsewhere, Stalker 2, The Ascent, Undungeon, Way to the Woods, Wild at Heart. So 60 games showcased, over 20 coming day and date to Game Pass, something really, really special, and a chance for all of us to celebrate indie titles today and moving forward to be able to go check them out. I mean, Paris continues to beat the drum for indie titles. Kai and Gary love them. I love exploring and trying new things as I get out of my AAA bubble, as some would say, and I at least try some more, which is really, really cool. But we do have two special things I want to showcase. This was really near and dear to my heart, and I know to the team at Kind of Funny, because this is a Kind of Funny best friend. This is one Kind of Funny best friend who has worked really, really hard and actually got their game part of ID at Xbox. So I wanted to take a moment and spotlight our friend Graham Reed. He has created Super Space Club. So I reached out to him and I asked him a couple questions about what it was like working with ID at Xbox and having his game here on the showcase. And it was really, really cool. So the first question I said, how long have you been working on the project and how many individuals are involved? He said, I've been working on and off on Super Space Club since late 2018, but really just a few nights and weekends after my day job at Snapchat. I am a one-man band on the design and development side, and I'm pleased to announce that the audio geniuses over at Fat Bard are now lending me their musical talents for the SFX and music. I then asked him, what's it like working as an indie developer? The good, the bad, the hard. He said, I could write an entire essay about this, Mike, but I'll try to keep it concise. The good is that you can work on really cool ideas that larger studios probably couldn't tackle for one reason or another. Sometimes that means making a very dope game that's about loops and heroes that takes over the industry by storm. And sometimes it means making a chill, lo-fi physics-based space shooter with a vibrant aesthetic and chill beats to study to. Also, I'd say it's nice that you get to have more of a say in the things you work on versus just being a small yet essential part of a bigger picture. The bad is that it's really hard to be successful as an indie. For every success story you hear, there are a dozen that have failed, and even more that didn't even make it to release. This adds so much pressure to make a hit and even just enough to afford the next game, when really most of us just want to make cool stuff for people to enjoy, so fingers crossed. The hard, especially when it's just you working on it, is showing up every day. I'd really call it a passion because there's so many ways to make money in this world that are easier than this. You really have to enjoy it, and I'm thankful to say that I do. There's nothing quite like making a product and watching people interact with it and enjoy it. I then asked, what was your experience like working with ID at Xbox? Working with Xbox personally has been amazing so far, to be honest. The ID at Xbox team is very easy to work with, and you can tell that they truly care about you as a dev and your game. I can't speak to other platforms since this is my first time coming to consoles. I'd hope that they're all equally as invested, but Xbox has been great. Shout out to Sarah Condi for actually reaching out to me and essentially inviting me to put Super Space Club on their platform. I really love seeing how much love they're giving indies these days. And then finally, I asked, what does it mean and / how important is it to have the opportunity to share your work with a showcase like this? Honestly, it's immensely important. I'm a Jamaican-born and raised Black developer. Never, not once growing up did I think I'd be sitting here making a game. Never, not once did I think I'd be making a game coming to console. I think it's so important to showcase work of devs from other countries and of other less represented ethnicities. I'm proud to be part of the showcase, and hopefully I can pave the way for other Jamaicans and other Black developers to come. Shout out to everyone in the showcase today, but a special shout out to all the Black developers out there. We doing things. You can find him and his game. You can go check him out on social media at Graham of Legends, that Graham of Legend on all socials, and at grahamoflegend.com. You can find Super Space Club at superspaceclub.com, launching on Xbox and on Steam. So go put it on the wish list later this year. Something near and dear to my heart. This is somebody that I know, somebody that's in the Kind of Funny Best Friend community. We've got to see him start from the beginning now to the end, and seeing him on the showcase, having him reach out and share the hype really hit me, and that was something special.
That's dope. That's super great. And also, it's so funny to see like names like Sarah Condi in the space too, because she's been in this game for a very long time, helping devs get to this space. And Grant gonna have me out here crying, man. Talking about because that's great. I mean, that's the beauty of all of this stuff, man. Which is like you never know who's working on their project in their house late at night, trying to get a thing off the ground and wanting to share their vision with the world, and getting a chance to see a best friend not only share their game out in the world, but also have it be a part of a really big indie ID at Xbox showcase is huge for him. I'm sure that's massive love to you, fam. That's great. I love to hear that kind of stuff. That's dope.
Really, really fun stuff. And that was a special one I wanted to share with everybody. And another special one I want to share, thanks to my good friend Greg Miller. He wanted to collaborate with the Kind of Funny Xcast and show off a special indie game coming directly to Xbox, and it's going to be day and date on Xbox Game Pass. That's Nobody Saves the World from Drinkbox Studios, the creators of Guacamelee, Guacamelee 2, and Severed. This is a really cool one and a really special one. And Nobody Saves the World is a new twist on action RPGs. Transform into a ranger, a rat, horse, and a dozen other unique forms. Mix and match abilities to create powerful custom builds. Explore dozens of dungeons, slaying horrendous monsters on your quest to save the world. We have a very special Kind of Funny First Impressions up right now on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. And guess what? All you Xcast folks out there, I'm going to give you a little sneak peek of the first impressions. You can catch a glimpse of the game, hear me and Greg Miller talk about it, and then you can go over to youtube.com/kindoffunnygames and check out the first impression right now for Nobody Saves the World from Drinkbox Studios.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Kind of Funny First Impression / Xcast segment. We'll talk about that in 1 second. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the master of hype, Snow Bike Mike. Mike, how are you?
I'm so good, Greg. Thanks for having me on a First Impressions, and awesome to tie it in to the Kind of Funny Xcast.
I was going to say thank you for having me on the Kind of Funny Xcast. Mike, I haven't given you a lot of information here. I sent you a trailer. I said I want to do this crossover content where this video would go up as a first impression on its own at embargo and then get inserted into the Xcast as well. I want to talk to you about Nobody Saves the World. What do you know about this game?
Greg Miller, I know absolutely nothing besides a nice, quick 1 minute and 20-second trailer that I have now seen 20 minutes prior to recording this.
Exactly. Nobody knows anything about Nobody Saves the World because when this first impression goes live, it's the big reveal about Nobody Saves the World. It's the new game from Drinkbox Studios. Of course, if you're a PlayStation fan, you know them quite well. Guacamelee, of course, Mutant Blob's Attack before that, Severed over on the PlayStation Vita. A whole bunch of great games with a really unique art style and usually great stories and great gameplay. And I'm happy to report that Nobody Saves the World is more of that, Mike. I got to play about an hour of it, 45 minutes of a demo of it, and run through this action RPG from Drinkbox, which shockingly, let me check my notes just to make sure, coming to Xbox Series X/S, Xbox One, the Windows Store, and Steam. That's it. They have turned their back on PlayStation. They've turned their back on the Vita. They're all in on this Xbox business. It is an Xbox Game Pass Day 1 game. Very exciting because I played this right now in the time loop. It's weird, right? Of where we're recording this and it'll go live next week. I actually played it, a week and a half ago. And it is honestly, Mike, one of those games that I haven't been able to stop thinking about since I played it.
Oh, Greg, I love hearing you say that. That's right, because I look at this Drinkbox game and I think of Guacamelee and Guacamelee 2. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that resonate with me. And I love that art style. I love the colorful nature. And I love that side-scrolling beat-em-up action that I got from Guacamelee. But watching this trailer looks totally different, Greg. This is a new game here, but it's got me. And like you said, over on the Xbox side, it's Kind of Funny Xcast. We love that kind of stuff. But day and date, Game Pass. And I love that. I love that about that.
Best deal in gaming. You know that. Yeah. So if you're listening to this in the Xcast, not being able to watch it over on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, come please watch it. Let's get into what is actually happening in Nobody Saves the World. So the idea here is that a calamity has come to town. It has befallen everybody. There's a horrible thing happening, and everybody turns their eyes to the wizard who usually saves them. But the wizard is in fact nowhere to be found. So Nobody, you, the character named Nobody, picks up the wand and begins your journey to save it. But the way it works is a little bit of Kid Chameleon, where Nobody is just, as you, I'm sure Roger showing you in the footage here, a blank white character. He looks like Little Depressed Boy, if you remember from the Greg's comic book clubs. And the idea here is that you actually unlock different forms in this game through a skill tree that you use that come with their own exclusive moves that you also level up and get that way and upgrade and improve. And so there's this, like, not a skill tree, but a form tree, Mike. And you see, we start as the rat, which is just this basic character that you can go through and attack. And then from there, you can go to the ranger, you can go to the magician, you can move your way up to egg, and you can go through all these different characters and forms that you'll use to then go out and, again, they say action RPG, but dungeon crawl, right? It is this 2D sprite running around on this, not sprite, but 2D character model, these amazing models drawn on this amazingly detailed, colorful world that has so much life and personality to it. And as you run out there, you fight other enemies, you kill them, you have a health bar, you have a mana bar, you're pulling special moves, and you're leveling up the character, you're upgrading the moves. And when I say character, I mean forms. You're leveling up your forms, and when you hit certain thresholds for those forms, you then unlock additional forms that you can go do. So my demo started, Mike, with me being the rat, which had this lovely gameplay loop of, the basic attack that is you run around and chomp on these people, right? And as you're chomping on them, what you're doing is every hit of the chomp you use, you're building up mana, which you then can spend mana for a special attack that when you do this huge bite on things, you actually earn back your health. So it's this constant cycle of getting in close. Maybe I take a few hits, but I kill that thing. Then on the next thing, use the giant mana spend to then get health back in the system and go.
All right, everybody, welcome back. One final quick topic that we got to talk about, because I love it. Me and Con, we already talked about Halo. We're talking about sound design. Gary Whitta, it was popping on this month's Inside Infinite. Another blog post has gone up. And Gary Whitta, these things blow my mind. They're 10 pages long. It's a read, Gary. This is a lot of stuff. And it's been really cool to see the 3 different teams they've highlighted so far. And now we're on to the audio team. And let me tell you what, we got nerdy. We got weird with it. And it was super awesome to hear what this team is working on and how in-depth we really went with this squad, which I really, really love. The big notables to try to break it down for you, but I encourage you to always go check out the Inside Infinite blogs if it means something to you and you want to get really hyped. Like Kaz said, right? The moment you see the Twitter push on this, if you read it, the first thing you want to do is go play Halo with your homies. I'm going to be 110% with you. I'm going to keep it with you. That's just how it goes, right? And so this one I shared at the beginning of this gave me a big appreciation for the audio teams, right? And looking for the audio now, listening in, right? We've touched on soundtracks that have been important to me and, kind of listening to those composers and the people that make the soundtracks and the music, right? And that's kind of dawned on me recently. But now, we take it one step further and we really think about the audio, which was cool. And so, of course, their big goal, recapturing the legacy essence of Halo and strengthening the excitement and impact of Halo's combat. Love that. Capturing brighter themes like hope and belief when embracing the mystery and the beauty of Zeta Halo. I love this quote and I have to read it to you. It simply boils down to because it's Master Chief. The Master Chief and Halo players have never been overwhelmed by challenging situations, even when facing potential end of humanity or end of the universe situations. There's always a sense of hope, heroism, and confidence. So when it comes to the music in Halo Infinite, we believe it should focus more on the brighter, positive themes to support Chief's story and the player's experience. And I said to myself, damn, isn't that the truth? Every time you're Spartan 117 Master Chief, you never feel like there's any doubt, right? You can face any threat, and that music uplifts you, it picks you up, and makes you feel like you can run through a brick wall. And it's really, really cool. They're going to create 3 to 4 hours worth of written music, and they have 3 different composers to come in and make this music. And one that's really, really special to me that I've caught on to recently and I can't get enough of, that's Gareth Coker. They got Gareth Coker on the track, y'all. And if you don't know about Gareth Coker, you're about to find out, because this man makes bangers. And of course, you've heard him in Ori. You've heard him in so many other games like Immortals Phoenix Rising. This guy is great. And I love Gareth Coker. Want to give some shout outs to Curtis Schweitzer and Joel Korlitz. Those are going to be the other 2 composers. So really cool. 3 composers coming in. Mind you, we're in COVID times. People are working from home. They're spread across the globe. This team is working with 3 different composers to make some music. It's going to be really, really cool. They have a new custom-built acoustic simulation system developed exclusively for Halo Infinite. This system simulates the way sound travels through the environment, reflecting off the walls and filtering through doors and windows. They also talked about the audio cues being placed around an open world. Something I didn't really think of, Cobb, which was really, really cool, right? You think of Halo and more of a linear map structure. They have the audio cues set up for when you go past those. but then they gave you the top-down view of it, right? And they showed you the big open world and all the little markers of the different audio cues that you could hit and like listen to. And it's like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that, right? That's one thing I don't appreciate. And like now you take a step back and you're like, man, these open world creators, they're making some wild stuff out there, man. This is cool stuff right there.
Yeah.
Cobb brought it up, the new BR sound. Also, a new weapon was revealed with the sound. The heavy weapon for the Banished is called the Skewer. And let me tell you what, you're going to get amped up listening to the new BR sound because they have it and like they break it all down into the different pieces of how they build the sound. And then they have it against the Halo 5 BR. And it's really cool to listen to the both and see the differences. And then this Skewer, you can feel the impact, right? It starts from the beginning, you build it all up, and then they play you the one clip. And it's like, man, these guys are wild out here. This is so cool that this audio team creates something so special that plays such a huge factor into it. They talked about field recordings. They went out to Tasmania for 2 weeks to capture recordings of wildlife, and they had a focus on Tasmanian devils. What the heck are they doing? Recording Tasmanian devils. This is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's so cool, yet so weird. Then they spent a week recording nothing but explosions, just blowing stuff up, which was really awesome. Then the team decided to destroy a piano and capture the sounds from that. They have a really cool Halo YouTube video about this, where they're just beating this piano, Gary. They're beating it up with a hammer. They're beating it up with a golf club. They got a brick. Then all of a sudden, the jabroni comes out, Gary. And he's like, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to take this dry ice, and I'm going to put it on the strings of the piano. And this thing is screeching and screaming enough to make your skin curl, Gary. And it is so cool to be like, man, these guys are wild. They're weird. They're cool. They're making something really special. So I wanted to show off that. They have audio clips. They have 3 new songs up on Spotify from each one of the composers you can listen to. And the biggest one, Halo Infinite will be the first Halo title to support virtual surround sound technologies, Dolby Atmos, Windows Sonic, and DTS Headphone X. So you know you're getting that bang for your buck with your brand new Xbox wireless headset. I had to put it out there because it's like, dang, I get all that with this. Gary, Khalif, I mean, I wasn't a big audio guy, and now I'm jacked up on audio. What's up with this? Are you guys excited about this? Does this get you cooling? What's up?
Ooh, I mean, and I have a question for you, Gary, in a second about this. It tells you just how important sound is to the audioscape of what you have an expectation for when you play a thing. Like if you close your eyes right now and you think of what the sound of a ghost sounds like when you drive it, you know what that sound is, and it's stuck into your head of like, you know, that ramp of that like ramp up into when you hit top speed in a ghost, and you know what that sounds like. You know what it sounds like when you shoot a sniper rifle in Halo, like that douche that you just hear. It just sounds real big and chunky and fat and great. But it's also one of those things where I think of like, we don't give audio people that much love. Like Gary, I know you've worked on so many movies over the years and have done so much work in that space. Like, do the Foley dudes and ladies and gents get love in that space? Like, there are awards for some of that stuff, but I don't think that they like get love in the same ways that we would hope they do, even knowing that work is so important to the overall feel of the things that we kind of engage. How much work have you gotten a chance to do with Foley folks?
I mean, I think you're right in putting a spotlight on that question of like, do they get enough love? No, not nearly enough. It's one of these things that I think so easily gets taken for granted. I just pulled the article, this Inside Infinite article that went up yesterday, and I hadn't looked at it until Mike started talking about it. I've been skimming it as he's been discussing, and it really is remarkable. Just it looks like I'm going to take some time to read this whole thing, because if you're not an audio nerd going in, it will make one out of you, right? It really is a fascinating, just kind of deep dive into just how much science and artistry goes into creating a soundscape for a game like this. I'm looking at these waveforms and looking at these 3D images of, the science of how, sound moves through a space and bounces off an object in real time and creates that kind of immersive soundscape. And again, so much of that stuff you just take for granted in the moment, right? You kind of go, yeah, this is what it's supposed to sound like. But to create that is a tremendous amount of work. And you're getting like a little window into that here. And, it's nice that they are focusing on it here and giving these sound people their kind of moment in the spotlight, because the music, right, is iconic. As soon as you hear, it's part of our own intro. As soon as you hear that chanting and those drums, you just know it's fucking Halo, and you're in that space. But you're right, as well, every sound effect, right? We all know what a needler sounds like. We all know what a ghost sounds like, right? That's just kind of become part of like the canon of what we expect from a Halo game. And it really is again, looking at this right now, especially when we live in an age of positional audio and headphones and Dolby Atmos, and there's just sound has the power to bring you into the world of a game or a movie like never before with these immersive sound technologies that we have. And so I'm really, really glad. I just read the piece about the Tasmanian Devils and looking at this video of them smashing the shit out of a piano. This, of course, is how like a lot of the most famous sound effects that we remember, like the sound of a lightsaber or the sound of the Millennium Falcon, was like Ben Burtt just fucking around with stuff that he had around him and old sound effects, and like a broken air conditioner, became the sound of the Millennium Falcon's engines and all this kind of crazy stuff. Like, you discover all this amazing stuff, like, sound people, Foley people, like kind of like mad scientists, like what can we smash with a hammer and make a really crazy sound? And it's fascinating to see this kind of deep dive in something, which again, it's very nerdy. We take it for granted, and for that reason, I think it's all the more important that you take a moment to say, hey, look, you might be interested in just how much work goes into creating shit like this. And it's a fascinating read. We should put the link to this like in the YouTube description or something, because people should go read it. Very interesting stuff.
Go check it out each and every month. 343 Industries is pulling back the curtain. They're going to give you a deep dive. They want to have fun with you and get you hype for the release. And man, this was a special one. And Gary and Kyle said it so best. It's like something I took for granted and something now I appreciate so much more. And like hearing this team and them get nerdy, it's like, man, that's so cool. And those guys are probably so much fun to be around. But let's wrap up the show and let's get the heck out of here to enjoy our weekend. Here's a quick heads up for you. Tekken 7. If you want to throw hands with Khalif Adams because he loves fighting games. Tekken 7, Need for Speed, Hot Pursuit Remastered, and Sid Meier's Civilization 6 are all available on Xbox Live Gold and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for the free-to-play weekend. So go take advantage of it. Go play some games, have some fun. Good wide range of games right there. Racing, little strategy, and some fighting games for your free-to-play weekend.
Man, I played so much Hot Pursuit.
I picked up that remastered when it first came out because that's my favorite Need for Speed game.
Same. Yep. It's so good.
And that's it. This will conclude this week's episode of the Kind of Funny Xcast. Hope you had a ton of fun. Of course, get loud in the comments. Let you know what you're hyped about. And let's celebrate Khalif Adams and all the cool stuff that he's doing. Kyle, where can everybody find you? What's the Twitter at? What's the cool, dope stuff that you're doing this weekend and moving forward?
Oh, man, lots of cool stuff coming in. First of all, we just launched our new merch. Our new merch stuff is now live over at highscoretees/collections/spawn on me. You can use the long link or bit.ly/somegear. You can check out the new stuff that we have in there. We got new jeggings, we got hats, we got new glasses and cups and stuff and blah things and all stuff. We got all the new things are over there. So it's a fantastic matchup with the folks over at Rare Drop, doing cool stuff with them now. So that's fantastic. I am doing a new show with our friends over at Cloud9 every other Thursday. Next week will be our second episode. I'm doing that with somebody named Greg Miller, that guy who's from Kind of Funny. He does a whole bunch of stuff. And the amazing Alana Pierce, former Xcast host here, all around mental health and well-being, called Presence of Mind. So we're doing that show with Cloud9 and Kaiser Permanente, which is a interesting and dope mashup there. So I'll be hosting this week's episode all around toxicity. And we'll be talking to some folks from Cloud9 about that. I'll be doing a probably 2 to 3 hour stream this weekend for WonderCon. Probably playing a bunch of Loop Hero, because Loop Hero is my new jam. It is super, super fun. So I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of that as well. And again, of course, we have DICE coming up in April. We just put out our latest episode all around 6 days in Fallujah, which I think is going to get a lot of hopefully good traction on it, because I think we did a really good deep dive on the nuance of how to talk about that from a reasonable perspective. And I hope that folks kind of come to that as well. But yeah, lots of fun stuff. And then hopefully, we'll bring Blunt Force back and get some games in soon to make sure we get all those things together for sure. Get all those things rolling. And hopefully we can figure out a way to get my man, my mellow, the cool kind of fellow, that dude right there, Contangelo Jackson. What up, baby? I hope you're all doing well. Into No Pixel, we got to figure out a way to make that happen.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling
in
it.
2021, we got to make it happen. Everybody in the KF fam, everybody are the best friends. Make sure you shout it out on the world. Tell everybody you want to see Contangelo Jackson up in Los Santos.
Love that. Contangelo, let's get him in there. But of course, I know a man that's going to get lost in Los Santos this weekend. Gary Mitchell, aka Gary Whitta. What the heck are you doing this weekend? Where can everybody find you? What are you up to?
I'm sure you'll catch me in Los Santos over the weekend. Twitch.tv/Gary Whitta for the live streams. YouTube.com/Gary Whitta for the curated highlight episodes. Episode 5, The Death of Gary Mitchell, Part 1, drops tonight. By the time you're listening to this on Saturday morning, that'll be live on YouTube. You can also check out the 4 previous episodes. Lots more. We got about 50 hours of content in the can right now. Kebabs is working his way through it. So go check out An Englishman on Los Santos. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Smash that notification bell. All the shit that streamers are supposed to say. Also, if you're over on the YouTube channel, don't forget to check out the concept reel for the Last Starfighter sequel that we dropped this week. That's blowing up right now. Went a little bit viral. Go check that out as well. And I got a big announcement for a new project probably coming in the next couple of weeks that I'll be able to talk about soon. It's not ready to go live yet. But for right now, An Englishman in Los Santos is my current waste of time. You can catch it live on Twitch. You can catch the curated highlights on YouTube. And that's pretty much it for right now.
Gosh darn it. All my friends do awesome stuff. And guess what? You listening out there, you watching on YouTube, all of your friends and yourself are doing awesome things. So make sure to go celebrate everybody in your life. Celebrate the wins. Take a look at the losses and make sure to pick each other back up and go encourage each other to continue to keep pushing and be great. I'm your host, Snowbike Mike. This has been another episode of the Kind of Funny Xcast. On behalf of myself, Barrett Courtney, working the 1s and 2s, my guy Khalif Adams, and Gary Whitta. We're out of here. Have a good weekend, y'all. Peace.